Good evening, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to our virtual chat and chew in regards to housing rights, presented by Suffolk County Legislator Jason Richberg and New York State Assemblywoman Kimberly Jean-Pierre. Before we get started, we will have Nicole D. Bailey, Senior Partnership Specialist at the U.S. Census, to speak to us about the importance of completing your census and how it affects our communities. Nicole?
Good evening, everyone. So the census is safe, easy, and important. So I want to make sure that everyone completes the census. If you've done it already, I want you to at least tell 5 people tonight about the census because it's very, very important. So it's safe. It's safe because we only share statistical data. That your information cannot be shared with any other agency. It cannot be turned over on executive order. It is safe. It's easy because you can do it online. You can do it via the phone. You can do it with the paper form, or you can do it with a census taker. We do not ask you for any money. We don't ask you for your social security number. We don't ask you for anything on behalf of a political party. So it's safe, easy, and important. It's important because the census touches your life every day. There's something you do every day that comes from census dollars. So it's very, very important. Our congressional representation comes from census data. Our Title I funding for schools comes from census data. We're here talking about housing tonight. Section 8 and community planning comes from census data. It's so, so important. I'm going to give you the statistics for New York State now. Nationally, we've had 63.8% response rate. New York State, we're at 59.7%. Town of Babylon, we're at 65.9%. For Suffolk County, we're at 63.6% in response rate. So it's very important that we get that up because we're lower than the 2010 self-response rate. 80% of households in America have done it online. It's really quick to do it online. It takes about 8-9 minutes. So we ask that you go on and do it. Only 1.5% of the households have done it via the phone, but you can do it on the phone as well. And that's a quick, safe, easy, important, please do the census.
Thank you so much for that valuable information, Nicole. I myself, it only took me about 5 minutes to complete my census, and I've actually been offering my services to community members who are having complications. So if anybody is out there and they don't want to complete the census by themselves, my name is Lashika on Facebook. I'll be happy to help you. Now, I would like to introduce our fabulous elected officials who are presenting this panel. First, we have Suffolk County Legislator Jason Richberg.
Hi, Lashika, and thank you to our panelists, and thank you to our visitors, and to those who will be watching us for the next couple of weeks and months going forward. Having this forum we felt was important, in speaking to Assemblywoman Jean-Pierre, and we felt that we've been getting a lot of questions about housing and what are our rights and what are the questions that we should be asking and how do we move forward, especially in this COVID environment, this virtual environment. So we thought it was important for us to come forward. But you're not going to hear from myself too much today. Tonight is to hear from our professionals, the folks who are on the front lines about housing, whether it be from the Long Island Board of Realtors or community development or health and welfare. It's about them getting you the questions and answers that you want to have solved. So thank you very much, and thank you to our moderator, Lashika Lewis, Esquire. It is great. It is great to see you and seeing you involved.
Thank you so much for that, Legislator Richberg. And now I'd like to introduce my sister, New York State Assemblywoman Kimberly Jean-Pierre.
Good evening, everyone. You can't forget that Esquire now. She worked very hard, and we're very proud of that Esquire at the end of her name and the title that she's definitely earned. So congratulations, Shika. I'm so happy to see you. It's been a minute. And everyone else, it's been a minute. I see Sandra Cochran, Rebecca. I see to all my friends here, and I just great to see you guys. And this is, you know, one of the most challenging times. You know, we've been virtual, even as session, we voted on a number of housing packages, particularly for our, you know, our tenants and our homeowners during this pivotal time in our lives, something that we've never expected 2020 to look like. And I'm really excited about my new colleague who has taken the lead on so much things. And I'm excited, Jason Richberg, to be working with you and to partner on this very resourceful and informative session where our professionals, as you said, our advocates will talk a little bit about the rights of tenants, the rights of homeowners, and potential homeownership. You know, we've seen an increase actually of home buying on Long Island recently, even through this pandemic. And we also seen a lot of people not being able to pay their monthly mortgage and pay their monthly rent. So this resource that you will hear tonight is so informational, and I'm so proud that we were able to use federal dollars through the state for the rent relief program, the emergency rent relief program for people who were impacted by the pandemic. So, and I'm sure the panelists will go into detail and talk specifics about the resources that are out there. So again, thank you. I have my water, no chewing for me as we chat and chew, but I have my drink here, my water, and to enjoy and take notes from my great friends. Thank you.
Well, before our moderator takes off, I just want to say, I just want to say that if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to put it in the chat. And I have my mug of coffee here, so I'm going to be staying up with you guys. You might not see my picture, but I'm definitely having my cup of coffee. So it's not my chew, it's my sip. So thank you again, and I'll hand you over to our lovely moderator. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So now we will be hearing from our experts on housing in Suffolk County. Before they go, we'll have them each introduce themselves. So our first panelist is Sandra Cochran, Executive Director of the YNH CDC.
Just, I wanted to give you a few pointers. With this pandemic, we are getting ready to see some things that we may have never came across before when it comes to housing, both rental and home ownership. First of all, you need to know that you have rights. I'm sorry. Lashika?
Just the part. Introductory part of the campaign. Yes.
Sandra Cochran, Wyandanch Community Development Corporation. We're a HUD certified housing counseling agency, and we do community development, affordable housing, and homebuyers education, default and delinquency counseling, and we are free.
Thank you for joining us tonight. Our next panelist is Rebecca Sannon, President and CEO of the Health and Welfare Council of Long Island.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you especially to Legislator Richberg and Assemblywoman Kim Jean-Pierre for their incredible leadership. Very happy to be here tonight. I run an organization that's the umbrella organization for the nonprofit sector, covering every area of health and human services on Long Island. And I'm happy to be here with you and know how difficult these times are for so many of our neighbors, and anything that this panel can do to uplift the opportunity is an opportunity we need to take. So I'm happy to be here, and thank you for welcoming me.
Thank you for joining us. And our next panelist is Bo Patton, Vice President of Governmental Affairs for the Long Island Board of Realtors.
Good evening. Thank you very much. Thank you to Legislator Richberg. Thank you, Assemblywoman Jean-Pierre. And it's a pleasure to join you all this evening. My name is Bo Patton. I'm with the Long Island Board of Realtors. We are the trade association for the nearly 28,000 realtors spread out across Long Island, and we represent Queens as well. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. So, Prior to COVID, Newsday released an article that talked about the housing discrimination on Long Island. And now we get to COVID, where we have residents who have lost employment and they're having trouble facing their bills, paying their rent or their mortgages. So I want to ask the panel, what are 3 things our constituents should know about housing on Long Island and how they can protect their rights? We'll start first with the same order that we did introductory.
Okay, first of all, they should know that they have rights against the classes. There are 7 different classes that are protected under the law, and that's race, color, national origin, religion, sex, disability, and familiar status, okay? Second of all, know that there are resources right here on Long Island for you. There are local resources, there's religious resources, there's state resources, there are nonprofits, there are federal based organizations and local based state-based organizations that you can go to for help, free of cost. And number 3, don't be a victim. You can always find out information. The internet is there to find out information. Don't go on Craigslist and try to get an apartment without researching that. Find out who the owner is. We've had this already twice. We had squatters in one of our units that went, and we are a nonprofit and we do affordable rentals. Within 3 days, someone moved into the house, tried to say that they had a lease. Long story short, the person was scammed by someone on Craigslist. Call the town. You can call the town, ask for the tax record room to see who the owner is of record for a property. Do your due diligence. So you have rights, you have resources, and do your due diligence before you get yourself into a situation that's going to be very hard to get out of and you lose your mind. Those are my 3.
I agree. It's important, you know, squatters' rights when it comes to organizations such as who have income people who are going to be using those properties. Okay, next we will have Rebecca.
Sure, thank you. So let me say, yep, can you hear me?
Hello?
Can you hear me? Yeah? Assemblywoman saying she can hear me. You can hear me? Everybody can hear me? Somebody go like this?
Yes.
All right,
I
good.
can hear you.
All right, thank you. So I would say 3 things. First of all, you started talking, you announced this question talking about the housing discrimination that was illustrated by Newsday. We know that Long Island is one of the most segregated regions in the entire country. And we see the impact of COVID on communities of color, particularly overrepresented. And so I want to say 3 things. Nicole Bailey kicked us off with a conversation about census. And it should be no surprise to anybody that when you look at census data, the inequity in response is reflected in communities that have been hardest hit by COVID and communities that are most under-resourced. And what that means is that you have communities that are wealthy next to communities that are underserved and under-resourced, where you have high response rates next to very low response rates, which only serves to promote our inequity. And so if we want to make sure that there's affordable housing and we want to make sure that there's the resources that we need for our neighbors to be able to survive in a community and in a region with such a high cost of living, folks need to complete the census. That's number 1, it's critical. It affects everything we care about. Number 2, a lot of folks today are struggling in ways that they never have. What happened with COVID is that people who were struggling before are now in crisis. But there were lots of folks who were making ends meet, putting together 2 or 3 jobs, figuring out how to keep the lights on, how to keep food on the table. And they're entering an economy in which the jobs that they had, the jobs that they counted on are no longer there. And that's really difficult. And so I encourage folks to remember that as they're struggling with paying rents and paying mortgages, there may be other programs that they can apply for that can help stretch their household budget. Programs like SNAP, for example. Which can help to be able to provide food on the table. So we want to encourage people to reach out to the nonprofit community and look at what programs they might be eligible for. Number 3, there are rental assistance programs on Long Island. We run the Emergency Food and Shelter Program organization, but EOC of Suffolk, for example, has rental assistance resources, as do other organizations. There are organizations that very much want to support you as you are struggling. And if you are facing homelessness, you have the Department of Social Services in Suffolk County that you can call for emergency support. If you have a landlord who is trying to illegally evict you, the only person who can evict you is the Suffolk County Sheriff, and there is a moratorium right now on evictions. So we want to be very clear with folks. If you have a landlord who is saying he's going to change your lock, so she's going to shut your utilities off, that's illegal, and can be reported. And evictions are on hold until October 1st. So we want to let people know that there are resources, and then at a time in which so many of our neighbors are feeling hopeless, there is a reason to be hopeful. We are walking into a multi-year recession. These are going to be really fiscally difficult times for folks, but we're all here to serve our communities, and happy to talk more as we go along.
Yes, I'll echo what they both said, but the eviction moratorium was extended to the state and the federal government have put in protections. You as a landlord, you are not allowed to, you cannot discriminate against somebody with COVID. And if you feel that you have been discriminated against, then immediately call the Suffolk County Human Rights Commission, the New York State Department of Human Rights. Our respect to the market, a little bit of an uptick. The first few months of the year or the summer were slow, as you can imagine, but actually pending home sales in Suffolk County in July are drastically up over the last couple of years. So there is activity in the market, but you 100% cannot discriminate against somebody with COVID.
Thank you. It seems like our moderator is a little frozen, so I think the Assemblywomen are gonna tag team. So in terms of COVID, so if I am looking for a house, Bo, I guess this question is to you, and to any of the other panelists. What should I be asking when I'm either looking for a rental or I'm looking for a house? Are there inspection things, or are there town requirements? What should I be asking? Maybe this time we'll go Bo, then Rebecca, and then Sandra.
Well, first of all, you want to make sure that your agent is following strict safety protocols. The Empire State Development and the governor's office, when real estate was included in phase 2, and we have very strict protocols to follow in the interest of everyone's safety. Showings can be permitted. Houses have to be vacant. Owners and occupants cannot be in the house. The agents need to have face coverings, maintain social distancing. The agents are encouraged to have face coverings for their clients. We are suggesting that young children, for safety's sake, if they can wait outside on the lawn, maybe with one parent, another parent goes in with the agents. Open houses are still going on as well. However, it's not like a traditional open house that you're used to with a number of folks going into the home. You still have to maintain those safety protocols. When the showing is over, you're to touch only necessary surfaces when you're looking at the house. So, handrails going upstairs and whatnot. You're discouraged from touching cabinets and other surfaces in the home. Agents need to disinfect, sanitize the homes when they leave them. PPEs are not allowed to be discarded at the home. So safety is of the utmost concern of our realtors and agents on Long Island. You talk about, yes, there are still going to be the traditional home inspection process, and you're going to be still working with a traditional lender. There will be, the traditional closing costs and whatnot in the transaction. So those haven't changed during COVID, but the safety protocols most definitely have.
Thank you. Rebecca? You're muted.
I'm failing us here. Sorry about that. I would just take it from a different perspective and say that what we know right now is that one of the reasons that COVID was so overrepresented in some of our communities is because we have such a lack of affordable housing here on Long Island. And what that meant is that lots of folks would come out of the hospital, or have a diagnosis with COVID and need to quarantine for 2 weeks and not be able to do that because multiple families in many of our communities are living in single dwelling units, right? And so the perspective that I would take is the importance of safety and recognizing that because there's a lack of affordable housing, lots of people are using an underground market, right? They're using, postings in the grocery store to try to find housing. That is the reality on Long Island, and we need to tell that story, and we need to tell that reality to, certainly we have 2 elected officials who are really committed to equity in our region, but we need to lift that up to really communicate the need to look at housing a little bit differently right now, and especially if we have a second wave of COVID and we have to deal with helping people to be able to quarantine, to be thinking proactively about how we house people during their need to quarantine so that they actually can quarantine, because so many people are living in crowded and dense conditions. So having strategies in place where people can be automatically hoteled when they identify that they live in a crowded unit, where there is support and oversight from the Long Island federally qualified health centers or HRH in Suffolk County, and where there is food provision so that people can be safe, we can reduce our numbers and be able to recover quickly, which will certainly be positive for the market and for our local economy as well.
Thank you. Sandra.
So I think they pretty much said it all when it comes to the COVID aspect of it. But when you're going to look for a place, rental, you make sure that you ask to see a rental permit. You have the right to see a rental permit. And you know, if they have a rental permit, then they followed all the codes, the local codes, safety codes. We're already dealing with the COVID, like was said before. You don't want a house that is illegal, if you can help it, and you don't want a house that, you don't want to put yourself in a situation that you're stuck. So if they have a rental permit, you could also call your local government, give them the address, and they will let you know whether the house actually has a rental permit or not. So that would be my input, is to see a rental permit, and you have certain things when it comes to safety should be in place, because there was a formal inspection. In order to obtain that rental permit, you have to pass an inspection.
Thank you. It looks like our moderator is back, so I can sit back and enjoy my tea.
Yes, I was having some technical difficulties. Before we go to our next question, we just want to encourage the audience to please ask questions now while we have the experts here. You can pose your questions in the chat to everyone, and we will ask them as they come up. The next question from the chat is title insurance important when doing your home search? We'll start off with, we'll go back to the same order that we started the last question. So that was, I believe Rebecca started first.
It wasn't me. It was, I believe it was either Sandra or Bo.
Bo was first.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Great question in the home buying process. Your agent will, I would ask that question of your attorney, that your agent's gonna, when you have your agent, they're gonna have their attorney that once you enter a contract, they're gonna turn that transaction over to, and they're the best to answer that.
Can I just add to that question? So if you can just, I know but why do people need why do people need to do it too? Or why is it suggested? I think that's to add to that.
So when you're buying a home, if that home is not new, there could be liens or whatever on the home. It's protection for the buyer. Even if it's unimproved property and you're building a home, or you get a home from a company that built the home on unimproved property, the property could have liens on it. That is the point of buying title insurance. It protects you. And let me tell you, first and foremost, it's the lender. They're going to protect themselves. Okay, so you need title insurance. When you buy a home with WCDC under affordable housing, you have to have title insurance for the property, but the house is new. You know it's not the house itself. The buyer and the lender.
So Valley is an enormously talented person.
Are we okay?
We're good.
Sorry,
I would just ask our guests to mute their phones if possible. And does anybody else have anything to add to this question? No? Okay. Shika, you're back up.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, the chat. So it closed out, so I can't see the other questions that were asked from the chat now. Am I frozen again? Oh, this computer thing is hard. Hello?
You're not frozen.
I'm not frozen. Okay. I can't see the questions from the chat. I have a question in the meantime. We talk a lot about tenants. What about landlords? Are there any protections for landlords who, let's say they had a tenant who was affected by COVID, right? And they haven't been paying their rent. And now you have evictions told. And although they have told the evictions until October 1st, the banks haven't told the landlord's mortgages. Are there any resources for landlords who may be facing those situations?
So the Emergency Food and Shelter Program, which Health and Welfare Council operates, we work with 17 organizations in Suffolk County specifically that do emergency food and shelter. That can apply assistance for paying your mortgage. It's not just for rent. So folks can apply for assistance to pay their mortgage because of the CARES Act dollars that came down because of COVID-19. There's extra dollars there. So rather than covering 1 month, we're able to now cover 2 months. And that is regardless of income. And so we encourage folks to reach out if they are struggling in that regard.
In addition to that, when all this is said and done, people can come to nonprofits to try to obtain loan modifications, special forbearances, partial claims, or whatever the case may be. And that's what we're gearing up for. We're gearing up to help people that, even if they were landlords, they weren't doing this before with properties that were income properties, but they're trying to put something together now because they know it's about to be very bad for people that own homes that were renting them out also. So something's coming down the pipe to try to help them also in that aspect when it comes to loan modification.
That's a great point, Senator. And I also want to add to folks, I really want to say to folks, you know, if you're worried about being able to manage, this is the time to get foreclosure counseling. One of the things that we see a lot of times is that when people are scared or ashamed or feeling embarrassed, they avoid addressing the issue. And it's really important if people are concerned right now about their ability to make their mortgage payments over time because of loss of rental income, that they get foreclosure counseling now, start to look at what their options are.
Mm-hmm. And I don't.
If you have the FHA mortgage and you're a homeowner, if you are 30 days behind, you're in default. If you have a conventional mortgage, if you're 60 to 90 days behind, you're in default for that mortgage. So just like, I'm sorry, what's your first name?
Rebecca.
Rebecca, just like Rebecca said, if you're 30 days behind with an FHA mortgage or 60 to 90 days behind with the conventional mortgage, now is the time to seek help. I'm sorry, what were you saying?
I don't know if you can talk a little bit about from homeowners, some of from the Home Cares Act, the forbearance that homeowners can take advantage of. And also, how do you as a homeowner identify who's legit and who's not? Like, there are some people out there who are falsely, you know, saying we can lower your mortgage by 2%, you know, and how do you, as a homeowner, because we don't want to be back in 2008.
If they charge you, if they want to charge you for the service, you should not pay them. The service is free. We write grants. The government gives companies money in order to help you with this free of charge. So there's no reason that people that are already in trouble and can't even pay the mortgage pay a company $2,000 or $3,000 to lower their interest rate. No, you just, if they're charging you money, it's not right. And that's how you know something like that.
I'll add to that, and with regards to the foreclosure counseling, I mean, there are so many free programs, and one of my best pieces of advice on how you can find out about those those various programs is reach out to your local, state, and federal elected officials. Many moons ago, I worked for a member of the U.S. House of Representatives, and we had a list of about a dozen in our office of foreclosure counseling agencies. And as Sandra mentioned, these were free agencies. It's same like advocate with the IRS. If they're charging you, there are free agencies out there that can help you.
And I would just add to that, so on our website, which is www.hwcli, if you click on COVID resources, we have a housing section, and it lists some of the local agencies where you can get that support.
You can also go straight to HUD, Kim, and they have a listing of housing counseling agencies, which we're on, and it's www.hud.gov. If you're looking for rental, you search a rental. If you're looking for home ownership, you search the home ownership. And it will tell you, it has a lot of resources to avoid scams, resources to get help, anything you need when it comes to housing. www.hud.gov, search the respective area that you need to look for.
Okay, it looks like, thank you. It looks like Lashika having some technical difficulties.
I'm back.
So I don't know. Oh, there you go.
Did you have another question, Assemblywoman? Because I have some from the audience.
No, go right ahead. I was just filling in.
Okay, our next question for the panelists is, are you worried about Long Island's housing market growing to the point that low and middle class families are completely priced out or will be completely priced out?
I'll say, absolutely, but it's unfortunately, it's not just a Long Island problem. It's everywhere. I mean, the median home price right now continues to rise even with COVID, because the market is picking up, as I mentioned earlier. While sold homes for the month of July were down compared to the last couple of years, pending home sales, meaning hopefully transactions that'll close next month, are way up. It's just have that price. So trying to remove those barriers into the entry into home ownership are going to be critical.
So I'm gonna be a little controversial in my response to that question and just say we're there, right? So there's a real lack of understanding about Long Island, and we all have a responsibility to really raise up awareness about the fact that we are not a region with pockets of poverty. We're a region with pockets of wealth. There's poverty in every single one of our communities. The fact that you don't see it all the time does not mean it's not there, which is, something that, I hear from folks at times when particularly as they go out east and they see, mansions, sprawling mansions, and there's an entire service industry that supports that lifestyle, right? And folk are living in tremendous poverty. And there's almost no affordable housing on Long Island. Quite frankly, there's very little compared to the need. So we see every day that there are, homeless children living on Long Island, homeless families living on Long Island. There are so many families that are squished up together in a room trying to make ends meet. I tell people all the time, poverty is a violent experience. It's a form of trauma. And so many of our neighbors and so many of our communities live that experience every day. And what that means is that we are not meeting the potential of our region. And I am going to just take this moment and say, Nassau and Suffolk County were the most fiscally distressed counties of the 62 counties pre-COVID. Now, our counties are really struggling. Our state is really struggling. What that means is Health and Human Services are at risk. What that means is that the services that help folks who are most vulnerable are at risk. And what that means is we have to use this moment as a time for reform to say, not just how do we address the housing market as it is today, or how do we address Long Island as it is today, but who do we want to be? Do we want to be a place that we were, created to be, which was intensely segregated, in which some communities have resources and others don't? Or do we want to start looking at our multiple layers of government and start to think about how we create a region that really does lift up every family and create opportunity so that no family has to deal with homelessness, so that no family has to deal with the crisis of hunger that we see every day on Long Island?
Absolutely, and I'm going to go one step further. This has been a problem. I've been doing this for 30 years, and it's been a problem since I've been doing it well before. I don't see it going anywhere anytime soon. Although we do have representatives, Kim, thank you so much, on the state level. Jason, thank you so much, on the county level, that do fight for affordable housing. We fight diligently every year. If whatever we get, trust me, for affordable housing and community development, we have to fight hard for every year. But even though they do their part on these levels, if it doesn't change from the federal government,
Sit right here with.
it's only so much.
If you look at dots, individual happening.
Can you mute your phone? Thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
Are you finished?
And I just want to add to that. I think that, you know, people misunderstand the definition of workforce housing and affordable housing. It's two different types of housing. Yes, we're growing with workforce housing on Long Island. We're young, you know, we talk about young people leaving Long Island, not being able to afford. They want to live near downtowns and vibrant areas. And, you know, we have to make sure they stay on Long Island with the jobs and look at everything holistically. But also, when you talk about a family, you know, affordable housing is not workforce housing. It's not the same. It's two different types.
Very important. I had a follow-up question to you, Ms. Sandra. So you talked about programs, SNAP programs that landlords and tenants can qualify for, correct? Mm-hmm. Are there
SNAP programs? No, SNAP is for nutritional security. SNAP is formerly known as food stamps, but there are emergency food and shelter programs where folks who, you know, are having trouble paying their rent or having trouble paying their mortgage can apply and can access 1 to 2 months of support.
Okay.
Am I right? Through the CARES Act?
So CARES Act money made it 2 months instead of 1 month. Typically it's 1 month. So the CARES Act money added a month to that. There's also, you know, there are, for example, Suffolk EOC has some real significant support available for folks who are struggling with different kinds of needs. And what I really try to encourage people about is, instead of thinking about your needs in a vacuum, think about your entire family budget and what your needs are across the board, and let's figure out if there are ways to provide assistance. Might not be housing assistance, but maybe if you don't have to pay your utility bill or you don't have to pay another bill, that can free up money towards your rent during these really difficult times. And make no mistake about it, these are difficult times that are going to continue, and we're going to need to be thinking a lot about retraining programs, because lots of people are going to be entering an economy that is not the same economy that they left, with jobs no longer available.
Thank you for following that up. My next question is, what are the costs buyers and renters should be aware of? Such as what's too high of, I guess, a mortgage payment, and what's too high of a rent payment?
Okay, so people shouldn't pay no more than 35%. This is what they brought it up to, 35% of their annual income for rent. When it comes to the mortgage, it depends. You have a ratio, a front and back ratio. Depends on what kind of mortgage you're going for. So it can go anywhere, that back can go anywhere from 31% to, depending on the type of loan, 42%. So it, or is it 43? Can you help me out with that, Bo?
Sorry?
Never mind. It's on the system, and we just crunch the numbers and the computer spits it out. So, but there is, you shouldn't pay over a certain amount a month for housing every month. And like I said, for renters, I know for everybody in general, it's about 33%, a third of your annual income should not be paid. Now here on Long Island, some people are up to 55%, 53%, and you know, we report these in our stats all the time. Some people pay 80% of their income for housing here in Suffolk County. So yeah, but if you're buying or renting a house, you should try to stick to what's affordable. But what is affordable on Long Island? What can you get affordable? What can you find affordable here in Suffolk County? It's a very hard thing to do. People are struggling. So that's a tricky question.
Keep in mind too, in addition to your purchase price, if you're buying a home, I mean, you will have closing costs, and those will vary. However, Sandra in the beginning did mention there are programs too that can assist with loans for closing and down payment assistance. So a good lender, and don't be afraid to talk to multiple lenders. Don't be afraid to, if you're working with an agent, talk to a couple different agents. It's like we get second opinions, but they're, a good lender will have access to those programs and be able to tell you about those down payment assistance and those closing cost assistance programs.
And I'd just like to piggyback on that. Don't go for a loan for closing costs and down payment. Like Bo said, and like I said before, there are programs. The town of Babylon, town of Islip, Suffolk County, they have first-time homebuyers down payment assistance program and closing cost assistance programs. You have banks out here, lenders that will, if you start early, come get homebuyers counseling, homebuyers education. We'll walk you through it. If you start early, you can get into a program, a match grant program with a couple of banks out here. We're trying to get more people back into it. They were doing it before and they stopped. They will match you dollar for dollar. Some were giving $2 per dollar that you save towards down payment and closing cost assistance. So there are programs. I have to tell you about our program with the town of Babylon. The house behind me, you only need a loan for $190,000. If the house appraises for $300,000, the other $110,000 is in a forgivable grant from the town of Babylon. And we get these houses through the property through the 782H program from Suffolk County. Thank you, Jason. And money to rehab them through the town of Babylon and the state. Thank you, Kimberly. And I mean, the program works. We have 2 that we're waiting to sell now. So the programs are out there. You just got to come look, ask about them.
Ms. Sandra, can you elaborate more on the financial guidelines in regards to the first-time homebuyers program?
Okay, so first-time homebuyers program, you have to be mortgageable. That may not be a word in the dictionary, but you have to be able to get a mortgage. You go to a lender, you get pre-qualified, First of all, come to us. I can't say that enough. Find a HUD certified or another counseling agency that is certified to help you walk you through the process. The bank is not going to give you a loan if you're not mortgageable, if something's wrong with your credit score, they're not giving you anything. We can help you with that. We have programs for short-term ready people for mortgages and long-term ready people. We assess your situation, and see what your objectives are, and we give you your options. And we work with you from beginning to end. We have had our renters that started off years ago with us as renters that became home buyers through this program. So it is possible. You have to put in the work. Nothing comes, easy. You have to put it in. Lashika, that. You have to put in the work. So come to us. There's a process. We will work with you if it takes 1 year. Short-term ready is 3 to 6 months. Long-term ready is anywhere from 6 to 12 to 24 months. We will work with you that entire time for free, walk you through the process until you achieve your goals of home ownership, if that is what you want.
I have a follow-up question to that. So you have the first-time homebuyers program, and you can get a grant for closing costs. Now, if you get the grant for closing costs, can you go to any closing attorney, or do you have to use your closing attorney or the one that's provided by the bank?
We don't do teams. We call if we told them, oh, go to this bank, go to this attorney, that's illegal. We don't do that. We stick to what we know. We do the first-time homebuyers education. They find themselves a real estate lawyer or, a lawyer that would help them with that. They go and they look out. We encourage them to go to different banks and check the products that they have, different lending institutions, and check the product. A bank may not be good for a person. They may be better off with a credit union. So they have to do their homework. They have to go do the research, find out what's right for them, and then they come back to us and we go through the process of the closing and everything, but they have to do their due diligence. We don't steer them. We don't recommend anything at all. We do what we do, first-time homebuyers education, and tell them what to look for when they go to these other people to ask about their products and services.
Okay. Another question from the audience is, will New York State expand the first-time home buyers program based on the regional income levels? Well, I guess that's a question for our Assemblywoman.
We're praying.
Okay, well, you know, until we get back, oh, here she goes.
So it's those are HUD guidelines. So when we talk about the poverty threshold and what the guidelines are in income, it's really through HUD that they mirror those guidelines through. So that's a federal question. That's a federal action. But one of the things we look at, like for instance, we look at Long Island. So HUD has a formula, and it's based off region, it's based off county. So because we have the really poor, and then we have rich, we have high incomes, the median income from Long Island is an average of $53,000. And when we have families, we have a reality, and I think, you know, Rebecca hit the nail on it and talked about you know, we used to be, you know, Long Island used to be considered, you know, pockets of poverty, but we really have pockets of wealth. And you look at communities, people are making less than $53,000. That's why you see when people buy homes, sometimes it's not a couple, it's a whole family purchasing a home. They're all coming together to purchase a home, and it could be 5 to 6 people purchasing one home because the incomes are not matching. So it's really looking at the HUD guidelines, and we need to really have those conversations with our federal representatives, which we have been, but those things need to be changed federally.
Another.
I'm looking at, we just got the new ones in. They're still the same. Well, they're a little higher than they were last year, which is good. The income limits are a little higher per region, and the limit on the home that you can buy is just a little bit higher per region. So that's a good sign.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if you want an example, say income limits for our area for one person, like if they're going to buy a home, it's $69,450. For a family of 5, they can make up to, and this is just to get the affordable housing. They can make up to $107,150. So, you know, it goes from household size and where you are. But they went up a little bit, all of them. All of the factors went up just a little bit for this year, which is good.
And that's why we have to really fill out the census, because one of the things that the population is definitely changing on Long Island. So, you know, filling out the census is key. And it brings back so much definition to how we look at how the housing industry, the school districts, everything. So I just can't say. I know Nicole talked a little bit about census earlier, and Rebecca talked about it again. And if, you know, she said if you filled it out, make sure you tell 5 more people, because we're not even at the number we need to be Long Island.
Yeah, not even close. And to your point, Assemblywoman, about, you know, talking to our federal representatives, I mean, we lost seats in 2010 because of an undercount, and we are on track to lose again. And so, you know, I say to folks all the time, and this is not political, this is really just factual, right? If you're concerned at all about what's happening in DC, whether you're concerned for civil rights reasons, voting rights reasons, environmental health reasons, the assault on health and human services, anything at all that we care about as Long Islanders, we need to make sure our voice is magnified in DC, not limited. And so I can't think of a more important imperative than to make sure that we are all getting, forget 5, 10, 15 people, you know, in the next 2 weeks to complete the census, especially in communities that are so undercounted right now. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. And I just wanted to reiterate to the people who join in that you can complete your census at www.my2020census.gov, and it only takes 10 minutes, and I can help you. Okay. So another question we have from the chat is in regards to Ms. Sandra. When you have people participate in the first-time home buyers program, do you disclose to them that they should find an attorney on their own and inspectors on their own, and not allow realtors to push an attorney or home inspector upon them?
Absolutely. We let them know you do not let anybody give you a team of players or service providers or professionals when you are buying a home. It is your money, you pay for the service, and it's better if you go out there and you look for someone on your own, because you know if you went to look for them, then and they provide the service, they're doing the service specifically for you, and they're not involved in a group or a team. Yes, absolutely. You can get yourself in trouble taking recommendations. You use this person and that person. We have everybody you need. No, you don't fall for that. Do your homework. Don't be lazy with it, because this is a lifetime commitment.
Yes.
Financially. We say that a child is 18 to 21 years and 24 years if you're trying to get them that master's degree, but this is a 30-year baby. And you want to make sure that you start off right, okay? An educated home buyer is a successful home buyer. Anybody can obtain a home. It's about keeping that home. It's about maintaining the home ownership. So that's what we teach from A to Z. Like I said, and we have a motto: we never let anyone go unless they want to be let go. We never leave your side until you achieve your goals. And then after that, if you need post-purchase counseling, we're here also.
I'd agree and say not only should you shop your title attorney and lender, shop your realtor. Talk to 2 or 3, 4, 5 realtors, and find one that fits the needs of you and your family and whoever else is in the home buying process with you.
Okay. I have another question. We talked a lot about the first-time home buyers program, about loans, about getting an attorney. But, as a future potential home buyer and, Assembly District 15, so Kim and Jason can be my representatives, and Jackie Gordon, how much should I be looking to save for a down payment on a house? Anybody can answer this. Am I still frozen?
So in order to get an FHA loan only requires 3% down, okay? But you don't stick with that. So it depends on how much the loan is, or the house that you want to buy, all right, or the loan that you want to get. You definitely want to save as much as possible, seriously, because you don't only want to save a down payment. Like I say, you're looking at closing costs, but you're also looking at, depending on whether you buy a new house, you might have warranties for 12, 24 months depending on what it is in the house that you're looking for the warranties on. But if you're buying an older house, you never know what may happen. So you may want to consider starting an account for future repairs. So it's not just about the down payment. It's not just about the closing costs. It's about the whole baby. When you're a renter, if the window gets broken or the cesspool, something happens, you call the landlord. Who do you call when you own it yourself?
Yeah.
That's right. That finger that's pointing somewhere else, that you got 1, 2, 3 more pointing back at you. So it's your baby. So you really need to have reserve also. And we teach people all of that from A to Z. Like I said, you have to see the whole picture. Home ownership is a wonderful thing, but it's also a responsibility. That can pay off in the end because you built equity.
Yeah.
I'll add to the responsibility part too, especially for first-time home buyers. Be mindful of what else you may be looking at purchasing during, say you're buying your first time home, and I've seen closings fall apart because somebody didn't think, and they went out and they were in the middle of when they were pre-approved, entered in the transaction, they hadn't closed yet, and they went out and bought a car. And that can, that has effects on your ability to borrow. So be mindful of that. It is, as Sandra said, the whole picture.
Wait, Bo, I want to highlight that because I think that's very important. So you get pre-approved for a house, right? Very excited. Oh, I'm going to move in. You got the loan already from the bank. Then you go out and buy a car. So you open up another secure transaction with another lender. Now you're going to close. So you're telling me that because I took out another secure transaction, that this can, I guess, prohibit or hurt me closing officially? Because you're pre-approved. You're not officially closed until you close.
It could affect, yes.
Okay. Wow.
I'm not an attorney or a lender, but it could affect, yes.
It can. I'm an attorney. It can.
I can tell you because I've been in that situation, not personally, but with people that has done this, do not do it. Because if you have a $600 month car note, remember we were talking about the ratios, the front and the back, it knocks out your ratio. And they will not close with you because now you have a $600 a month responsibility with something else, unless you have a lot more money to put down to compensate for that. It will keep you from being able to close, believe me. And another thing that a lot of people don't realize is student loans. Don't play with your student loans. Don't be in default on student loans. That you cannot get a mortgage if you're in default on government loans, on student loans. No way, no how.
Wow. So I have a question. So if you're default, because we have a lot of people who does credit repair and they remove student loans. So even if you get a student loan removed from your credit repair, if you're in default, you guys can still find out about that, right?
There is no such thing as removed from your credit unless it's paid off or you made some type of agreement or you're still in school or it's, unless it's forgiven in some type of way. If those scenarios are the case, then you're fine. But if you're in default, no loan. They will not give you a loan if you owe the government, not at all.
Thank you for clearing that up.
Mm-hmm.
We have another question from the audience. Can a seller of a home refuse a Fair Housing Act or VA loan over a conventional loan? And if so, why?
I wouldn't do that. If you're thinking about doing that, whatever loan they come to you with, you take the loan. That's the seller, you can't discriminate people against that. Money is money, no matter how they get it. As long as you get what you're supposed to get, it doesn't matter what type of loan they get because they're responsible for that loan, not you. The end result is you got your money, don't worry about it. You don't want to put yourself in a position that you may be looked at as, you did something discriminatory, and that's a gray area right there. You don't want to mess with that.
That's very true.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay. To the other panelists, were you guys going to elaborate more on that or no? No. Okay. Another question from the audience. Is there a new law that is costing homeowners a lot of money right now if they have a cesspool? I don't know if you guys heard of that, a new cesspool law. Am I stuck?
I think I could take that one. So if you are buying a new if you have a home and you're getting a new cesspool system, there is a new environmentally friendly system that could cost you more money, but the county has a grant program. They're actually working with the IRS to have some sort of relief in terms of your taxes. But the program, it's a $40,000 system, but it has less impact on our wastewater. So it's not if you're buying a home, it's if you're putting in a new cesspool system. And any new cesspool system, I believe starting 2020, has to have this new system. So if someone comes in and says, oh, I could just put a cesspool in there for $5,000, yeah, that's not true.
You have to have your leaching pools. You have to have your regular cesspools. A lot of people don't understand. You have a septic tank, the cesspools, and then in the town of Battle, and I don't know about anywhere else, whether they picked it up in Suffolk County, but we have to have a rain runoff management type system that costs an extra $6,000. So, it is an expense, but it's a necessary expense to save the environment. We're drowning out here.
And literally and figuratively. And there are programs that you can apply for. And as the panelists have all said, reach out to the Health and Welfare Council, WCDC, LIBOR, your elected officials. Everybody's got a little bit of the piece of the pie. And unfortunately, when dealing with, owning a home, as was said, so to clarify, it's just for new builds. Yes, sorry, so it was a question. So it's just for new cesspool systems that are being put in.
Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you so much, Bo, Rebecca, and Miss Sandra. And thank you to Kim and Jason for having me as tonight's moderator.